2024 is the year that Polestar must be in. In spite of the fact that it was established in 2017, floated in 2022, and delivered only 55,000 automobiles in 2023, the European Tesla has been unable to achieve the same level of success in terms of sales or stock market performance as its competitor in California. In 2023, the value of Polestar's shares decreased by 57%. Volvo, the corporation that was responsible for the creation of Polestar through a partnership with Geely, made the announcement in February of this year that it would stop providing funds and would look into reducing its stake. Even though you believe that you had a difficult winter, Polestar, however, is putting up a fight. After years of offering only a single model, the company is now introducing two new sport utility vehicles, SUVs, this year, the quasi-coupe 4 and the larger 3, which is a twin version of the Volvo EX90. In terms of price and size, the 4 is located in the middle between the 2 and the 3, which is a reality that anybody who is not from Gothenburg is probably never going to understand. In order for Polestar to achieve its goal of breaking even in the same year, the two new cars, along with an enhanced version of the second, are expected to increase sales by a factor of 3, all the way up to 155,000 units. Having doubts? This is understandable, especially when you take into account the fact that the 4s will be competing against the brand new all-electric Porsche Macan and Audi Q6 e-tron, both of which will be built on their luxurious PPE platform and will employ the rather unassuming Geely SEA components set. The more conventional Volvo EX30 and Smart No. 1 will use a version of the same. However, if you take a closer look at the two new cars, or even better, if you drive the 4 in its prototype form, which is almost finished, as we have done, you will notice that the storm clouds, which were previously ominous and reminiscent of a storm in the middle of winter, are now replaced with bright rays of sunshine. Let us get down to business. Two distinct versions are available. You may get 268 horsepower, 253 pound-feet of torque, quick acceleration from 0 to 62 miles per hour in 7.1 seconds, and an official range figure of 379 miles with the long-range single motor, which is the car for which you will see the specifications here. In order to increase peak output to 536 horsepower and nearly halve the time it takes to go from 0 to 62 miles per hour to 3.8 seconds, the long-range dual motor, which costs £66,990, adds a second similar motor to the front axle. However, this comes at the expense of the official WLTP range statistic, which lowers to 360 miles. As a point of reference, the new Macan Electric gives the two 4s a split on performance, 5.2 seconds from 0 to 62 miles per hour and 382 horsepower, but it has a base price that is £69,800 higher than both of them. The Tesla Model Y performance is now priced at the same as the single-motor 4 and offers the same speed as the dual motor. This is a result of the dramatic reductions in prices that Tesla has implemented. It has a 400-volt architecture. 800-volt cars do exist on the SEA platform, and Polestar believes that an update within the 4's lifespan is not beyond the realms of possibility. A 100 kilowatt-hour battery pack, of which 94 kilowatt-hours are usable, and it has a fast charging capacity of 200 kilowatts, which is 70 kilowatts less than the Macan. You will not be adequately prepared for your initial encounter with the 4 of them. With its sleek, fuselage-like body, vaguely I-Pace-esque mashup of coupe and crossover proportions, finely carved surfaces, and the utter absence of any form of rear screen, it manages to seem not only enormous, but also heavy on presence. It manages to look a little bit like both the Polestar 2 and the Future. Not at all. The one that does not have a rear window is this one. Indeed it is. A coupe roofline was something that designer Max Missoni intended to be a part of a package that, due to the fact that it had an underfloor battery and required adequate headroom for the back passengers, did not lend itself to the idea. In order to provide a satisfactory amount of headroom beneath the supersonic roofline, the solution was to relocate the header rail so that it was behind the heads of the second row rather than above them. A seated position that is slightly reclined is also beneficial. Considering that it has a wheelbase of 29.99 millimeters and an overall length of 4.84 meters, ascending into the back of the vehicle reveals that it is extremely spacious. If you are taller than 6 feet, the headroom will be more restricted than before. You will feel cozy, safe, and happy thanks to the interior design, which is unusual but stunning. It features a fascinating wing motif that goes around the front of the cockpit and mirrored behind the occupants of the second row. In spite of the absence of natural light coming from behind, there is no feeling of claustrophobia because of the gentle ambient lighting. Color themes that are inspired by the planets of the solar system are nicely presented on the screen, complete with an animation of a Polestar show car in space. The vast panoramic roof can be personalized with electrochromatic glass. Because there is no back glass, the 4 is the first vehicle to use Gentecht's next-generation digital rear-view mirror. It draws a feed from a 2.5 megapixel camera that is located high on the trailing edge of the roof. This allows it to perform a function that a piece of reflective glass is no longer able to perform. Up front, Polestar's signature minimalist design results in a place that is not only fashionable but also really comfortable. And it does not have any of the claustrophobic coziness that plagued the Compromise 2. You are seated in slim sports seats, a 3-spoke wheel, which, revealingly, has a nice center marker, and 2 portrait screens, one of which is a driver's display, and the other of which is a larger touchscreen that is oriented in portrait mode. Despite the fact that the latter controls practically everything, there is still a media on/off volume knob between the seats, stalks behind the wheel, and shortcuts for 2 primary tasks. These shortcuts allow the driver to toggle off lane keep assist and speed limit warning, as well as select between the 3 different levels of region. And then, just as you are exploring the touchscreen and enjoying its pristine visuals and logic that has won awards, Joachim Ridholm, the most excited man you have ever encountered, walks up. Ridholm is the head of chassis development for Polestar. There are only 2 things about Joachim that you need to know. He puts in a lot of effort, saying, "This is not a job for me, it's a way of life." In the event that you consider this to be labor, you ought to have given it a long time ago. And he is able to drive. Watching him slide a single-motor 4 in a Mitsubishi Lancer Evo X, which he has won multiple times at the national level, is like watching a Da Vinci Doodle. All look all right. However, is Joachim's car a safe vehicle to drive? No. Indeed, it is superior than that. Amazing, in fact, and one of the few electric vehicles that we can't wait to get behind the wheel of again, just for the sheer joy of it. In part, this is a result of the coupe/crossover design, which, similar to the Taycan Cross Turismo, provides you with practically all the agility and performance you could ever need in a package together with the ground clearance to handle any road, regardless of how rough or lumpy it may be. And this is due, in part, to the fact that the 4 is just so unbelievably well organized. A single-motor or dual-motor vehicle is not considered to be ballistic in a straight line according to the requirements of modern electric vehicles. With a core weight of approximately 2.3 tons, even the power of the dual-motor is rendered ineffective. However, when you get into the more intriguing parts of the game, such as braking and changing directions, the 4 starts to shine like a Polestar. Exceptional steering is provided. There is no slack around the deadhead, and there is no unwelcome heft in the standard setting. You can go lighter or heavier, but you won't. Instead, there is a magnificent, well-oiled movement that is laid over a base of seamless accuracy and logical linearity. A chassis tune that is equally as excellent may be found on both the passive dampers of the single-motor car and the adaptive dampers of the dual-motor car. The ride is controlled but pliable, and the road noise is nicely suppressed on most surfaces. Additionally, the steering and chassis in combination are really outstanding. With Joachim by my side, we began the process of putting his baby through a series of gruesome tests, which included tortuous handling tracks, swerves at 120 miles per hour on a speed bowl, crawling over fallen tree trunks at walking pace, gliding down a remarkably convincing facsimile of a lumpen British B-road, careening through long sweepers studded with 50mm proud manhole covers, and so on. The Holler proving site that Volvo maintains is a playground, but it is a playground that is inherently masochistic. The delicate, nearly vice-free manners of the automobile, as well as the superb control that it possesses over its wheel movements, are two attributes that stand out. You can position the vehicle wherever you want, regardless of the speed, thanks to the precise steering and controlled Brembo brakes. However, whatever happens next, the tightness of the body control, which is truly mind-boggling, leaves you scratching your head. This is because the anti-roll bars are mechanical, passive, and completely out of date. Through the sweeper, which is adorned with drain covers that have an evil appearance, side skip is exquisitely managed in the dual-motor car, which is equipped with 22-inch wheels and performance tires. Our direction is hardly any less determined in the single-motor car, which is passively dampened. The first thing that the 4 must do when it is out on the bowl is to run hard and fast halfway up the cambered wall of tarmac. Its line must remain true and uncorrupted, even as we continually move from having no throttle to having full throttle. With a higher speed, perhaps 120 miles per hour, we begin to throw the 4 across numerous lanes with a single controlled stab of steering input. The seamless fluidity with which the entire automobile reacts is pretty spectacular. There is no heave, no yaw that is frightening, and no wobbles. The Snake's belly-low center of gravity is, of course, a contributing factor in the fact that it is a genuinely outstanding piece of equipment for a large family automobile. In the 4, it is not taller than the 2s, and it is lower than the super PHEV Polestar 1s. Despite the fact that the Polestar 1 has the appearance of a supercar, the reason for this is the presence of an antiquated combustion engine in the nose, which is standing tall like a pub piano. Chokin grabs the wheel for his final trick, engages the electronic stability control, ESC, to sport, and then begins to navigate a tight and twisty handling track while maintaining an almost limitless state of beautiful oversteer. He does this by blending slide after slide like the rally fanatic that he is. As if the single-motor car wasn't already making a persuasive argument for itself, with its lower price and better range, this performance almost certainly indicates that the less-priced Ford is by any means the inferior car. We have a conversation while he is drifting. I am pleased with the response to the turn-in. The process of turning in the car is fairly simple. Then I quicken my pace, I slide a little bit, and I am able to experiment with it. This is the most effective method if you tune the chassis without using the electronic speed control, ESC. That is, if you tune the balance without using any electronics. In this way, you are able to design a car that is consistent and predictable. After that, you go ahead and add the stability control systems on top of this. This is of the utmost importance for the customer, regardless of whether or not they are able to articulate their emotions. This is also true with regard to the steering. They are the only ones who are aware of the fact that they enjoy it, that it is enjoyable to drive, and that it gives them confidence. I bring up the fact that there are not nearly as many chassis toys as there are for the Macan electric turbo, which is admittedly a lot more expensive. The query, why do we have that function or this function, is one of the most often inquiries that I receive. It is very easy to have an excessive amount of toys, which might lead to the car being only partially engineered. It is more about having simple ingredients that are cooked to perfection than it is about having a bunch of things that don't function together. Instead, we tune the perfect car. Although we are a tiny team, there are only 6 of us on chassis. We have a great deal of experience. We work together as a cohesive unit, and we put in a lot of effort. Furthermore, he highlights the fact that he has diverged from the SEA components set in areas where he felt it was necessary to do so, such as by purchasing superior ZF dampers and Brembo brakes out of his budget. The verdict. The 4 is shaping up to be a real contender. It is a certain type of cool contemporary and proudly Scandinavian I-Pace. It is stylish, capacious, well-constructed inside, and energetically outstanding. There are, of course, some qualifications. Neither the efficiency nor the charging speeds, nor the comfort across distance, nor the day-to-day usability of the product were put to the test. The absence of physical switches may not be to everyone's liking, despite the fact that the touchscreen interface may appear to be spectacular at first glance. Additionally, those same individuals may have difficulty adjusting to the absence of a traditional rear-view mirror. Creators Gentex acknowledged that a little bit of acclimatization is necessary, and it was certainly necessary for my eyes to take more than a glance in order to digest the digital display because they were not accustomed to the configuration. A significantly broader field of view, enhanced contrast in poor weather, LED headlamp flicker mitigation, and in the future, the ability to overlay information such as blind spot alerts and even navigation prompts are some of the genuine advantages that can be gained from this approach. However, the principle is sound. The more traditional characteristics of the four, comfort, refinement, and dynamic flair, are the ones that stick with you, despite the fact that it features a design that transcends multiple genres and breakthrough technologies and materials.